Devil May Cry 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. I put it in my top 5 games of all time, actually. But the truth is, I'm not very good at it. Now, I've always wanted to get better at Devil May Cry 3, but for whatever reason, whether it was time, school, work, something like that, I've just not gotten around to it. But then I was looking at my PlayStation trophies one day. I have not gotten a PlayStation Platinum that wasn't Persona or Metaphor or something like that in like 2 years. I've had Astrobot for over a year and I still don't have the Platinum for that game. If that puts that into perspective, that game is so short. So I was like, I gotta get a Platinum for something else. And Devil May Cry 3 was sitting there just dead staring me in the face on my shelf. And I knew it was time to get the Platinum and get good at this game finally. So the objective of this video is simple. Get the Platinum trophy for Devil May Cry 3. But what trophies are exactly going to be in the way? There's Hellish Honor, Hell Hath No Fury, and Bloody Hell. These are the 3 trophies that are going to be in our main way. So what does every trophy ask you to do? Well, Hellish Honor, get S rank on every mission. Hell Hath No Fury, beat Dante Must Die difficulty. And Bloody Hell, beat the Bloody Palace mode. All of these being very difficult in their own way, but that's what this video is for. Get better at the game. Challenges are just going to be inevitable. And obviously there's some smaller trophies like maxing the health bar, getting max devil trigger, beating all the secret missions, beating the game in general. There's a bunch of different stuff we're going to have to do. So it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot more challenges than even that. But this intro is already getting too long. We got to get into the challenge itself. But I will say, if this video gets 10,000 views, I know it's a lot, but I feel like we can do it. I will make a video going through getting SS rank on every mission on Dante Must Die. You hear it from me first. You have my word. But we got to get the Platinum trophy first before we can even think about doing that. This is going to be hard enough as is. So I hope you enjoyed the video and let's get this Platinum trophy. After waiting about 30 minutes for the game to install on my PS5, I was finally able to get to the main menu. And well, let's just say this game is not known for its graphic design because, I mean, it's not HD at all. Like, what the fuck, bro? Anyways, it was time to start a new game, and I instantly remembered why I have this game in my top 5. Intros to games are one of the most important things to nail, and I think DMC3 might have the best intro to a game, period. It sets up the story between Dante and Vergil, the narration makes it super epic, and you can see Dante's inevitable loss. But more importantly, pizza time!
Go fuck yourself! This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
Now, the coolest part of this whole cutscene is that a lot of what Dante does is something you can actually do in gameplay. He uses Royal Release at the start, enemy rides, blasts with Ebony and Ivory, taunts. I mean, it sets up the gameplay and tone of the game perfectly. Best of all though, it's short and sweet, so you get right into the action. And I'm not gonna lie, after playing these JRPGs and whatnot for a while, this was such a nice breath of fresh air. But before starting the mission, there is one important thing we need to decide for this playthrough. Which style to use for Dante. For those unaware, this game has 4 styles unlocked from the start. Trickster, Swordmaster, Gunslinger, and Royal Guard. Trickster lets you move around like a trickster, obviously, so it improves your mobility. Swordmaster gives you more moves for your weapons, Gunslinger does the same but for your guns, and Royal Guard lets you guard and parry. If you were anything like me, you probably went with Swordmaster for the majority of your initial playthrough, but I wanted to go a different route this time. I've always known that on paper, Royal Guard is by far and away the best style in terms of both defense and offense for various reasons, but I was never good enough to take full advantage of it. Now that some time has passed, however, and I have actual competitive experience in games like Persona 4 Arena and SF6, I figured now was as good a time as any to fulfill my dreams and master the Royal Guard. Without being super nerdy, it basically allows you to parry anything in the game to not only nullify all damage, but to do the most damage possible in the entire game. Obviously, this is broken, but the catch with this style's OP-ness is that I should probably not say OP-ness. That's a really bad nomenclature, but whatever. The thing with this style is that it's super hard to master. It's easy enough to say, oh, just parry all the attacks and profit, but no, it's like way harder than it sounds. You can see by the footage here on screen where I'm practicing it on mission 1, even against the easiest enemies in the game, it's still kind of hard. But if you do manage to hit it,
Let's start the party!
Yeah, pretty good. And honestly, y'all, I was actually really happy with how I was performing in these first couple missions. I got the S ranks pretty smooth and I was getting my confidence back. But then I encountered Cerberus. Cerberus is infamously difficult and acts as the gatekeeper of the game, not only literally, but figuratively. To get into the Temenigru Tower and confront your brother Vergil, you have to beat Cerberus. But this is also the first major roadblock players will face gameplay-wise. It does have one of the coolest, cheesiest dialogues ever though.
Wow, I've never seen a talking mud before. You know, in a dog show, you definitely take first place.
Since I'll have to go over the bosses more in detail for the Dante Must Die playthrough, I won't spend too much time here. But something very interesting did happen here. When I died to Cerberus, my entire PS5 crashed. Yeah, I guess somehow he broke the fourth dimension and froze my PS5 itself, and it was just cooked. It was like the freezer from Saints Row 2 infected my game. I mean, look at this. So that happened, and I guess that was a sign of things to come. I did eventually beat him though, and the rest of the playthrough was actually pretty smooth sailing. Of course, I died a good amount of times, but I was getting through it pretty quick. And like I said, Dante Must Die is actually going to bend me over and just fuck me, so there's no point going over every boss in this playthrough. Mission 7 is when the next major thing happens for the playthrough. In this mission, you finally make it to the top of the tower and face your brother Vergil. To give a small lore recap, Dante and Vergil are the sons of Sparta, making them the strongest demons in the verse, or well, half demons, since Sparta had them with a human woman. Sparta was the strongest demon before them, and he used his strength to separate the demon and human worlds. But this is where the two brothers have a difference of ideology. Vergil laments his human side and lack of strength, so he values power over anything. He commits actual genocides to become stronger. Our main man Dante, though, uses his strength to help humans as his father did. The two brothers hate each other for these differences of ideals, but Vergil is way stronger. Like, it's not even funny how much stronger Vergil is than Dante. Once you beat Vergil in gameplay, Dante gets no diff in the story, leading to his Devil Trigger awakening, hence the subtitle of the game, Dante's Awakening. Not only does this lead to one of the coolest and most random cutscenes I've ever seen in a video game, it also unlocks the Devil Trigger mechanic for you to use. Devil Trigger is an absurdly powerful mechanic that lets you do more damage, take less damage, and you won't get stunned as easily. The only drawback is that the Devil Trigger gauge will drain pretty damn quick when you use it, but for most purposes you'll end up killing any enemy with it before that happens, so you'll be fine. Another lesser known mechanic with Devil Trigger in this game is Devil Trigger Explosion. If you hold down the DT button, you'll see the gauge start charging, and the more you charge it, the more damage it'll do upon release. It isn't really needed on a normal playthrough, and I don't think the game ever actually explains how to do it or that it's even in the game. But for the DMD playthrough, just wait, cause like you need DTE for that playthrough. So at this point, we've unlocked the majority of the most important mechanics. We now have Devil Trigger, a wide variety of weapons and guns. I mean, we're beasting our way through. Unfortunately though, it seems like nothing ever works out for Dante cause something always goes wrong in this game. Or actually honestly everything goes wrong in his life, but I digress. Eventually you confront Vergil once again, but during that battle you end up being betrayed or whatever you want to call it by Jester or Arkham. Arkham is that nice bald gentleman that gave us the invitation to find Vergil in the first place, and he used the both of you to gain the power of Sparta for himself. He even damned his daughter Mary to do so. Oh yeah, Lady's here by the way, say hi guys. Probably should have mentioned her earlier, but she's awesome, she's one of my favorite characters. Love you, Lady. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning this is once you and Vergil get smoked by Arkham, you start to notice a pattern about the game's level design. DMC3 makes you backtrack or go through the same area several times over, but it does it in a way that's never actually that noticeable or annoying. Mission 15 is the biggest example of this, where you have to flip these switches that rotate the tower in a certain way, and you have to do this to find all the pieces you need to power an elevator to progress. It's just an example of doing more with less, and the reason it works so well is because there's always new enemies to fight and you're steadily unlocking more stuff for Dante. It's just a masterpiece of game design and I wanted to point it out. And believe it or not, by that mission 15 point, you're basically done with the game, you're very close to the end. The game has 20 total missions, but they aren't very long or drawn out, besides mission 18, but even that mission isn't that bad. Unless the PS5 explodes on you again like it did for me. Now, I don't know if this is an overheating issue or if the game has problems with backwards compatibility, but after this happened 2 or 3 times by this point, I swapped back to the old reliable PlayStation 4. It took absolutely forever to install the game and update, but hey, at least I got to go down a trip down memory lane and see all of my themes again. Remember those guys? Sony fumbled the hell out of the PS5 by not having them, but I digress. The Persona 5 Royal ones were the best ones, by the way. Gameplay wise, the only things you obtain from this point on are the two new styles, Quicksilver and Doppelganger. Quicksilver is unlocked after beating the Geryon boss, and it lets you stop time. Doppelganger is unlocked by defeating your shadow, and no, you're not me, alright? Get out of here. Thank you.
While you're here to ask me some questions. Well, too bad. I've already answered them myself. I don't need you anymore.
What this style does is allow you to summon a copy of yourself to fight alongside, and it'll mimic all of your actions. If you have a second controller though, you can have someone else control the shadow, which is pretty damn cool. This same mechanic is used for the Arkham boss fight as well. In Mission 19, you come face to face with Arkham for the final time, and the first half of the fight is you fighting him alone. During the second half though, you and Vergil set aside your differences for a moment to take this ugly blob ass piece of shit motherfucker down for once and for all. Now, I know that might sound harsh, but seriously, I think Arkham is the worst boss I've ever fought in a video game. The concept with Vergil helping you out is cool and all, but when he's with you, you can't use Devil Trigger or your styles. Like, what? It instantly becomes harder, and what I've noticed is Vergil barely helps you at all. Like, what the fuck is he doing here? I'm going more in detail on this boss than the others, because no matter what difficulty you're on, this boss is just hard, annoying, and not fun at all. But on the bright side, after fighting the worst boss I've ever seen in a game, you're given an amazing cutscene and final battle to boot. I do actually think Vergil 3 is the best boss in gaming history, regardless of the difficulty, because he's so hard, but he's not complete bullshit, which is super ironic because you're going from one of the worst bosses to one of the best bosses. It's crazy how this game did that. Every single thing he does has consistent counterplay, so you always have that one more try mentality when you fight him. Not only that, the story's conclusion is very satisfying as well. Throughout the game, Dante has consistently grown stronger both physically and mentally. He initially didn't care about his lineage as a son of Sparta, but he casts aside his pride and accepts his fate, all the while avoiding tasting the blood or being overcome by divine hate. He defeats Vergil once and for all, and Vergil decides to stay in the demon world and do his own thing, and he totally had a good outcome, trust me guys. Dante returns to the human world, and we get the greatest name drop in gaming history.
Devils never cry.
I see. Maybe somewhere out there even a devil may cry when he loses a loved one. Don't you think?
Maybe.
Just beautiful. So now we've completed the game on normal difficulty. In this playthrough we unlocked all the weapons, guns, and fully upgraded the Devil Trigger gauge. That means we got a decent amount of the trophies, but the best is yet to come, no Metal Gear Solid 1. The plan from this point onward was to do a hard playthrough and get most of the cleanup done. I did all of the secret missions, which, by the way, the platforming in DMC fucking sucks. I mean, my god. The mission 12 is just bad, bro. Never put... I'm gonna lose it. I'm just gotta calm down. But I can't even count the amount of times I fell off those fucking blocks, but I did get it done. Doing the cleanup means doing all the combat adjudicators, just everything, literally everything. And some of these took forever, like the final Beowulf one cooked me. Like anything else though, with some time and effort, you can get it done. A lot of time and effort. Beyond that, the hard difficulty was just easy. By the time you've got all the upgrades and weapons, this difficulty doesn't stand much of a chance. But that's because this is foreplay for what's to come. Once you beat hard mode, you unlock very hard and Dante must die. Now, very hard in itself was, as you'd expect, very fucking hard. Vergil 3 took me hours, but once I came to Dante Must Die, I could not fucking believe how hard it was. In fact, it was so hard, I'm not even gonna bother talking about the very hard playthrough because that shit was easy in comparison. By this point, I had been making quick ass progress. Even on very hard, I got it done in a day or two. But this? No, not at all. And like I said, this is gonna be the bulk of the video because it's by far the hardest trophy in the game. Every single mission in this difficulty is hard. And I don't mean hard in the sense you'll die a few times on every mission. Nah, you're no shit probably gonna die dozens, if not hundreds of times on one fucking mission. So my dear friends, you might be wondering, what exactly makes Dante Must Die so difficult? And I'm glad you asked, and if you didn't, I'm telling you anyways. So on Dante Must Die, the enemies do 400% extra damage. You do 50% less damage, and they get Devil Trigger. Now, obviously, Devil Trigger in lore is for Dante and Vergil and someone else later in the series. So every enemy in the game just has the most special, most broken power in the series, and their Devil Trigger is broken. They get tankier abilities, they don't go down as easy, they take more damage, and they do more damage. So that 400% and that 50%, it's even more dramatic. It's ridiculous. And Devil Trigger can be activated in a various different ways. They can activate on a timer, amount of enemies killed, a bunch of different things. But more importantly, when they're in Devil Trigger, they have a stun value added to them. Now, you might be wondering, what does the stun value do? Great question. The stun value makes it so you can't launch them unless you stun them. How do you stun them? Oh, I wish you didn't ask that question, because I could make a whole video on this alone. But for the simple purposes of the video and explaining it, basically, if you want to stun the enemy, you have to do a very specific amount of damage and combo. Like, you have to do a very specific combo. So, like, for example, the sloths are like 2 helm breakers, and then you can launch them. But the problem is, there's no way to know what launches an enemy or what will stun them unless you look it up in a Google Doc or you just figure it out. Now, I'm someone, I don't like looking things up. I just like going in and just playing the game. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just looked it up. It was a bad idea. Don't be like me. If you play Dante Must Die, just look up the stun values. It'll make your life so much easier. Just do the air combos and you won't make the same mistake I did. So that's why Dante Must Die is impossible. And yeah, this is going to be fun. Editor's note, it wasn't fun at all. Now this is where I can go over every boss and a lot of the missions in detail. As early as mission 2, that's where you can see how hard it is. What I've learned by playing this mode is that your main focus should be on killing the enemies as fast as possible. You can't focus solely on one enemy, you have to deal damage to everyone. If you take too long, they're gonna get Devil Trigger, which is gonna make it take even longer and it's gonna be harder. This is why Devil Trigger Explosion and stuff like that is gonna be so useful. What this also means is that you cannot use the same weapons and styles for every single mission either. I mean, you technically can, but it's going to be harder, and Royal Guard especially is just going to be way harder to use, because if you fail to parry, you're probably just going to die. The Vergil fights are the best example of this, because unless you're using a task level fucking crazy reaction time or just something, you're not going to be able to parry the summon swords. I think this difficulty is where Swordmaster actually really shines, because it lets you do so much more damage and combos you can't otherwise do. With the Beowulf weapon, for example, you get the move Real Impact, and even on DMD, this will damn near one-shot the enemies. It's so useful. This of course comes with the drawback of worse defense, but you know what they say, a good defense is a good offense. I also came to the conclusion that Nevan is the most underrated weapon in the entire game. It's the hardest one to use and it's slow as hell to attack, but it's so useful for almost every enemy in the game. This is especially the case once you get to mission 3 and onward, because this is where the Enigmas come out. Now, I gotta say, the Enigmas right here, these are the shittiest enemies in the game. I would fight the Fallen, I would fight the damn Dolphins in the Arkham fight, I would fight the Blood Goyles, I would fight any enemy over these Enigmas, specifically on Dante Must Die, because these enemies are complete and utter bullshit. They run away from you the whole fight, they have these red lasers that go full screen in like 2 seconds, they do so much damage, they like one-shot you. They are impossible to catch, and if they get Devil Trigger, it's lights out for your ass. You might as well just throw your controller in the air and just start saying, "Yippee-ki-yay, I'm fucking that ass." That was a little dramatic, but seriously, it's bullshit, and I don't know why they thought it would be fun or a good idea to make them like this. That's my rant for the video. Fuck the Enigmas. Sorry about that, guys, but I really needed to get that off my chest, because if it wasn't clear enough from the footage, these enemies are really fucking annoying. So I've been talking about a lot of bad news, but there is some good news, albeit a questionable point. The entire point of this video and trophy hunting grind was to get better at DMC3. So if I can manage to beat this difficulty with this fucking bullshit stacked against you, then I think I could say I'm pretty decent at the game. Also, we aren't going to be using Super Dante or items, because that goes against the spirit of the video. With that small tangent aside, we return to our main man Cerberus. What's up, bro? It's been like 5 minutes since I last saw you. Yeah, I guess I should have seen that coming. I died to Cerberus a lot. The gimmick with the Cerberus fight is that he uses ice to protect his heads and legs, and the way you get rid of them is to shoot them off. The best gun for this is the shotgun, which is subtly hinted at the very beginning of the game when it puts the shotgun on display for you. The main issue though is that when you're close enough to Cerberus to actually blast the ice off, you're also close enough to get that ass smoked by his fast attacks. Something about Cerberus's attacks in this fight make them so hard to react to. With most bosses in this game, I can at least visually interpret what I'm looking at before it hits me, but by the time my brain has registered what Cerberus is doing, I've already lost like half of my health. This is why Royal Guard just isn't going to be it. I just can't parry his attacks. I can't do it. So I went with the next best thing, Trickster. Trickster is actually very good for this fight, because you can use the air trick move and get up close to his heads to attack while also avoiding a lot of the attacks he's able to do, so a win-win. That being said, it's only good if you are good with the style, but my decision to only use Royal Guard is kind of shooting me in the back, because my skill with the other styles really isn't that good. But it is what it is, I dug my own grave and I have to lie in it. The first half of this fight is fairly easy. As long as you're paying attention, everything he's doing is manageable, but the lower his health gets, the harder it becomes. He gets way more aggressive and the attacks become even faster. It's so fast to the point where I don't even know if it's possible to react to them, and I say this as a fighting game player where 20 frame moves are reactable. From what I understand, the best way to beat Cerberus is to blitz him as fast as possible. The longer the fight takes, the longer you're going to be sitting there dealing with these nigh impossible to deal with moves, so you gotta be on his ass like flies on shit. The silver lining is that the game is generous enough to reward you for doing this well. If you deal enough damage to him in a short amount of time, he'll get knocked down to the ground for a bit, leaving all of the heads you have the ice off of vulnerable to damage. That on top of the fact that if you use a weapon with massive range, like Agni Rudra, you can hit every single one of the heads at the exact same time, dealing like 3 times more damage than you otherwise would. You can easily take off half his health with this, so if you can do that and survive the gauntlet, then you can get it done. Of course, this is all easier said than done, however, because if you make one mistake, you're taking this much damage. It's just brutal, man. I was trying everything I could think of to deal damage while avoiding damage. I mean, look how fucking stupid I look doing this. I'm running up the damn wall like an uncouth baboon. But I've been losing for hours and hours at this point. I just didn't know what to do. Completely lost at this point, I took to YouTube to see what I could find. The first result was someone doing a similar strategy to me, just better in every single way, but I wanted to see if there was anything else I could possibly do besides that. Then I came across this video. Apparently, if you stand in this corner, Cerberus just straight up can't hit you with almost any of his attacks, and you can use Royal Guard to animation cancel the Spiral Sniper to hit all of his heads and deal ridiculous amounts of damage. It also doesn't reset the style meter for some reason, but styling is like the least of my worries. I'm just trying to win at this point. I was really debating on whether or not I should do this because, like I said, the point of getting this platinum was to get better at the game. And could I say I was good at this boss fight if I resorted to doing this? So I tried again some more with the Trickster style. Again, and again, and again, and again. Yeah, nah, fuck that. I just shot his ass with the sniper. I know it's not honorable or in the spirit of the challenge, but I just straight up couldn't do it anymore. I wanted to at least see what the rest of the game had to offer, so I'm gonna take the L on this one. I spiritually lost to Cerberus, and I'm not afraid to admit it. If it makes it any better, I died about 500 times out of this anyways, so honestly I could make a segment for almost every room in this entire game, because this room for example had 1,000,000 enigmas and other enemies in it. So it was just impossible, like I died I don't even know how many times in this random room. But for the sake of the video, I'm not going to go over all the rooms. I also just don't want to relive that trauma, but you know. So that means we come to the Gigapede boss fight. And this is one I also shot, but I don't feel bad about this at all because this is how I normally fight him anyways. It's not really hard to beat him normally since you can just reflect the projectiles back to him anyways. So in a way, this might actually be the harder way to do it. Either way, I smoked his ass like King Von, carried on my merry way. Mission 5 is when the next major boss fight comes up, Agni Rudra. Despite how many times I died or how hard it was, this is up there with Vergil 3 as one of my favorite boss fights in any game. Even more so than Vergil, this fight is completely fair despite its difficulty. If you lose, you deserve to lose, simple as. Unlike Cerberus, there isn't actually too much to explain here. Agni and Rudra are designed to surround you and take turns in attacking. It's not too common they'll both attack you at the exact same time, but if they do, you can still navigate it around it well because it's really easy to see what they're doing. The way you're meant to kill the brothers is to clash with their swords, and once their swords are knocked out of their hands, you can attack them for huge damage. Besides the obvious stuff like damage, the main thing that changes on Dante Must Die is the amount of clashes it takes to stun them. On normal, you only need 2 clashes, but on this one, I don't know the exact number, but it's like 4 or 5 times at least. And the fact you have to balance the clashes on one of the brothers while being attacked by the other means you have to do a lot of micromanaging. This actually makes it more fun though, because on normal the fight is low-key too easy, so the fact it takes more clashes and damage to deal with them means you have to interact with the fight more, which I'm a big fan of. That's my favorite way to balance a fight. Now looking back at my footage, I wish I had just gone with Royal Guard, because out of any boss in the game, this one is the most manageable to perform well with the parries. The attacks are super televised, and you can use release to clash the swords. It's probably the most efficient way to go about it, but for some reason I was dedicated to using Trickster for this fight. It was fun, I'll admit, but fuck if I didn't die way more times than I otherwise would have. Like I said though, this fight is so fun that I really didn't mind either way. It keeps you on your toes, and there's a reason it's a fan favorite fight. Let's make some fun out of my suffering real quick though. Just take a guess on the amount of damage I took on the mission. For reference, Dante's 2 health bars equals 20,000 damage points. I'll give you a second to think about it.
You suck.
Yeah, let's just move on. Thankfully, after that mission, you're given the easiest mission in the entire game, because you can beat the whole thing without fighting a single enemy. You're given 3 doors to go through to get items that'll allow you to progress, but you only need to do 2 of them. The third one is just extra. Only one of them requires you to do a fight, so if you do the Trial of Wisdom and the Trial of Skill, you can get this mission done in like 2 seconds. You'll get literally 0 style points, but fuck it, I'll take it. And something else I'll take is Mission 7, because Vergil 1 was also easy. At this point, I was like, shit, the normal enemies might be harder than the bosses, which, I'm not gonna lie, that actually ended up being true. I died significantly more times to normal enemies than the bosses, because with the bosses, they're at least consistently hard, but the normal enemies are way more unpredictable. If an entire room gets Devil Trigger, you're basically screwed, and since bosses can't even get Devil Trigger, it's just easier to me. Mission 8 was another big example of this, because the Leviathan boss was soft as baby shit. I beat him easy as hell, I just used Swordmaster Nevan and I just smoked him. But the normal enemies are so annoying, bro. The sloths can't be launched, period. So that on top of them being able to get DT and tank your attacks, it's just not cool, man, not cool. Speaking of Nevan, that was the boss that destroyed my false sense of security with the bosses though, because this boss was pretty damn hard. More so than the other bosses, I feel like this one is a test of endurance rather than just pure skill, because the way it works is Nevan has a shield of bats you have to take down before you can stun her and deal damage, and the further you get into the fight, the longer it takes to do this. Whether it be her tanking your attacks more, or her doing attacks that you just have to dodge for a while, it just takes time, which means your chances of making a mistake increase the longer it goes on. Her attacks get harder to avoid because they get faster and more dangerous, so you've got to constantly be on the move while paying attention to when she's vulnerable to attack. It gets me clenching my cheeks low-key. Okay, maybe too much information. As for the style selection, I think Royal Guard is the wave, because it's pretty easy to perfect parry the attacks. In fact, I think Royal Guard is good for most of the boss fights, it's just not good for normal encounters. So this fight comes down to blasting the bats off as soon as possible, avoiding the electricity, parrying whenever you can, and profiting. As always, it's easier said than done, but it's once again a really fun fight that tests your defensive capabilities well. It's also this fight where the strength of DTE can actually be very effective. Since you only have a small amount of time to damage her while she's stunned, using your DT gauge to deal as much damage as you can really helps in making this fight shorter. That on top of Royal Release and something like Jump Cancels with Beowulf is just about the highest DPS possible in the game with Dante. The main thing I can see being an issue for people is near the end. She'll do this like weird seduction attack, but you can just avoid that pretty easy. You can either pop Devil Trigger, or you can just jump in the air. It's really not that hard. Once you beat her, you do get one of the greatest cutscenes in the game though. I mean, look at this. fucking awesome. Okay, big mood shift here, but mission 10 was fucking ass. Up to this point, I've been skipping all the basic rooms because, like I said, this video would be like 7 hours long if I went over everything. But I have to make an exception here because I thought this mission was going to be easy. It wasn't. It just wasn't easy at all. It took me hours. It's all because of these motherfucking spiders. Oh my god, bro. Now, I'll admit right now, my strategy was garbage. But these spiders, man, they were hard as shit. I don't even have any funny comments to say because I just couldn't beat them. They have so much health, they swarm you with barely any time to react, they can stun you, lunge at you from halfway across the my English is just not Englishing because I can't believe how hard this was. They can attack you from halfway across the room and they do so much damage. Straight up, if they get Devil Trigger, I think you just lose. The only thing I can say is that using Trickster or Royal Guard in this room is not what I would do in retrospect. I would go Swordmaster and spam the living shit out of Real Impact on Beowulf. If you do this 2 or 3 times, it'll kill every spider in the room. 2 or 3 times each, by the way, not just in general. And yes, it does have a long ass startup time, but if you find those openings you need, then you can avoid the pain and suffering I had to endure because it's like ridiculous. If you don't believe me on how long this took, I'm actually going to speed this up by like 5,000% because sometimes I feel like these things I say don't give off the whole story. I could easily lie and say something took longer than it did for the content, but I do truly suffer this badly for your viewing pleasure. All I ask in return is a like and a subscribe. Please, please, pretty please. So mission 10 was obviously torture, and after that I wanted to take a small break and work on another smaller trophy, so I booted up the Vergil playthrough. After you beat the game with Dante, you unlock Vergil as a playable character, and you need to beat the game with him for the Am I My Brother's Keeper trophy. This might be a hot take, but Vergil kind of feels like shit to play in this game. Now, he's by no means weak, that's not what I mean at all, but in comparison to Dante, he doesn't feel as snappy, his taunts aren't as fast or cool, he doesn't have any guns. It feels pretty obvious the game was tailored to Dante, as it should be. He doesn't have a great progression system either. Since he starts with all of the weapons, Devil Trigger, and doesn't have guns, there really isn't even that much more to unlock from the base game. I just didn't enjoy myself very much. And then I accidentally saved over my Dante save file. Yeah. Thankfully, I did have a backup save, but this did mean I had to do all 10 DMD missions again since my backup save was after beating very hard. So that was just fucking great. I speedran the game with Super Dante because I was not doing that again. Just no. Once that whole ordeal happened, I said no, let's just focus on the DMD playthrough because I took that as a sign to not do the Vergil playthrough yet. So mission 11 it is. This mission had maybe my least favorite room in the entire game because it has Hell's Vanguards and the Soul Eaters. And if you don't know, you can't hit the Soul Eaters if you look at them. The problem is every move you do with Dante, you look at the enemy. So I don't know what the hell they were thinking. That on top of the Hell's Vanguard teleporting on top of you over and over again, it's just, I don't even know, man. Like the thing is, I'm talking about this. This is every room. This is the stuff I'm cutting out. It's stuff like this where I'm dying over and over and over again to these enemies and these placements of enemies and these Devil Trigger, and everything is just impossible. Like I can't even put into words how hard this difficulty is. I wish I could, but unless you play it for yourself, whatever. I'm gonna just move on. Mission 11 has the Beowulf fight. If we thought Cerberus was infamous, then Beowulf's name should be Cold, because this boss has caused many nightmares for players. You can't stun him very easily and his attacks are relentless, but there is a method to the madness. Beowulf has a weak spot on his red eye, and if you attack that, it'll do more damage than usual, and you can stun him if you do it correctly. With that in mind, the first phase of this fight, I was bum rushing that fucker, getting as many Royal Guards as I could, jump canceling his eye with Agni and Rudra, anything I could do to deal damage. After that though, shit gets real. He starts doing these lunging attacks, he throws these metal beams at you, and worst of all, the wing attack. I actually don't know how you are meant to deal with this. I just spam Royal Guard and hope for the best. I think you're meant to stay close to him when he starts doing this, but it feels like you never have time to actually do that, so I don't really know. Opposite to Nevan, this is a boss you just want to kill as fast as humanly possible. No waiting around being patient looking for an opening. Beowulf is always open to attacks, so you need to simultaneously dodge while attacking. It's pretty hard to say the least, but Royal Guard does make this a lot easier if you're good at using it. What I said at the start of this playthrough was only half true, because this style has been saving my ass countless times throughout this run. Bless up to Royal Guard. I did still die for like an hour straight, but in comparison to the other bosses, that honestly wasn't even that bad. I guess this style of fight is better suited to my playstyle, so not much more to say really. But holy fucking shit. Missions 12 and 13 were a messed up abomination lineup of missions. So mission 13 is the second Vergil fight, then mission 12 is the Geryon fight. Since Vergil 2 is very similar to Vergil 3, I'm gonna glance over this a bit, but make no mistake, this is even harder than Vergil 3 in some ways. The main problem is that his attacks in Beowulf are actual mix-ups that you can't react to. They have the same startup animation, but there's no way to know what the follow-ups are gonna be. So basically, you have to pray. He also gets Devil Trigger, so that's just great.
You will not forget this devil's power. Come on, Mortis.
Needless to say, I died a lot. Shocker, I know. But again, I don't want to be redundant, so I'm gonna save my complaining for Vergil 3. But I gotta say, Geryon is almost, not quite, but almost as shitty of a fight as Arkham on Dante Must Die. This horse is constantly shooting rockets at you. He slows down time so you can't do anything. He takes so many hits and the fight takes forever. I can't even count the amount of times he stopped time and just killed me instantly with no counterplay. It's in large part my fault for not fully understanding how the fight works. But I mean, good lord, give me a break. The fight would have been hard enough without the constant missile barrages. More than half my attempts were me running in a circle, fighting for dear life to find a second to attack. But sometimes, that second would never come, and I would get very sad. Debatably, the most annoying part about this fight for me is that it doesn't even make for good content. I mean, all I'm doing is running around in a circle. Nobody wants to watch that. So honestly, I'm gonna just skip this because it's boring as hell and I'm not even gonna put y'all through that. Fuck Geryon. So what's next? Surely nothing that bad could come after all this, right? That was like 3 missions in a row of really hard missions. Well, actually, yeah. I mean, the rest of the game isn't too bad. The lady boss is easy. The missions themselves are just business as usual, so they're all hard, so whatever. And Doppelganger is also easy. That means really the only actual roadblocks left are missions 18 through 20. Mission 18 is the boss gallery, mission 19 is Arkham, and mission 20 is Vergil 3. Little did I know how hard this would be, because like, where do I even begin? Like, actually, these 3 missions honestly could take like an hour or something to explain if I wanted to go in deep detail. With mission 18, the hard part isn't the boss gallery, believe it or not. That's actually pretty easy at this point, because by this point you got to remember the context. I've fought every boss for hours at this point, so that was not that bad. It was the chessboard. Now, I'll admit, this is the coolest shit ever. The enemies here actually abide by the rules of chess, and if you manage to kill the king, you win instantly. If you want to not tear your hair out, that should be your main objective. But say it with me, y'all, it's never that easy. Woo! Who would have guessed it's gonna be hard as shit and I'm gonna die a million times? Yay! I think the footage on screen is pretty self-explanatory because it is just complete chaos. You got the bishops or whatever shooting you with fireballs and healing, the queen hard targeting you every second, the king teleporting all willy-nilly, the knights jumping you, the pawns just being a nuisance, there's lasers everywhere. I mean, I can't even tell you half the things going on in this room at any given time. The only thing I know for real is well, yeah, actually that's a pretty accurate description. Thanks, Sam. Really though, the only thing I know is that I was going to use Royal Guard and try my absolute hardest to kill the king quick. Because if you kill too many of the enemies, he's going to get Devil Trigger, and at that point, he's damn near invincible. It's smarter to take it slow if possible and play the long game of hard targeting the king. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I managed to kill him, I don't even know how it happened, but I wasn't complaining, I just wanted to be done. This room took longer than the boss gallery, by the way. Unfortunately though, the pain and suffering was only getting started because mission 19 is Arkham. Great. Like I said in the initial playthrough, I think this is the worst boss I've ever fought in gaming. And on this difficulty, I'm actually speechless at how bad it is. It's not bad enough that you can hardly tell what the hell he's doing since he's literally a disgusting blob, but that alongside the dolphins, the eel things that fly at you, Vergil being completely useless, everyone taking like 8 times longer to kill, and not being able to Devil Trigger or use styles, it's like it goes against everything you've learned at this point. And similarly to Geryon, there really isn't much to say here. The footage speaks for itself. You have to go into each attempt and just pray for a miracle to make it past the first phase. But that second phase, it's like impossible. Like, I don't know how anyone has ever beaten it. It's like, oh my god, man, just thinking about it is making me go insane. Like, I don't know. I don't know. So I did what any reasonable, I can't even speak English, bro. I did what any reasonable person would do. I spent 400,000 red orbs on holy waters to kill him in the second phase instantly. Like I said, I know the goal of this video is to get better at the game, but to be frank, I don't even want to get good at this boss. If I had the option, I would never do this boss ever again. So truly, this boss can go fuck itself with a molten hot tire iron for all I care. Fuck off. You might notice that I've started cursing more as the videos progressed, but can you really blame me? Anyways, with that absolute travesty of a boss fight behind us, we come to Vergil 3, my favorite boss ever. As I said before, he's very hard, but not total bullshit. As long as you're playing well, you can avoid all of what he's doing, but to get to that point of playing well, it's gonna take a lot of time and practice. The reason it's pretty manageable is because most of what he's doing is what you've been throwing to the demons anyways. Stinger, Helmbreaker, weapon combos, you get a taste of your own medicine here. There are various ways to deal with any given attack, but for Stinger as an example, you can either jump or clash with the sword. Either one gives you an opening to attack, so it's kind of a preference. It lets you do whatever you want, which is why I think it's such a well-designed fight. There's like 4 or 5, however many ways to deal with anything he's doing. So Judgment Cut, you can dodge that with Royal Guard, or parry it more like, dodge it with Trickster, dodge it with Quicksilver. You can do a lot of different things to get away from his attacks. Then there's Stinger, like I said, you can get rid of that. Even his Devil Trigger you can get rid of pretty quick as long as you know what you're doing. And that's why this is the greatest fight ever. I just love it because you can replay this 100 times. Well, maybe not 100 times, but you can replay this dozens of times and always find something new to do. It's a perfectly designed fight. I just love it. It tests your ability to be aggressive, defensive, reactive, and versatile. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're gonna lose. So it's a delicate game of pushing your luck as much as you can while minimizing the risk of getting hit. Because if you do get hit, then you're dead. Needless to say, I died a lot, who would have guessed? And yes, I did get mad as all hell, but I knew at the end of the day, all the losses were a skill issue. I needed to get stronger. I needed more power. So it was time to train, and train I did.
We are the sons of Sparta. Within each of us flows his blood, but more importantly, his soul! And now, my soul is saying it wants to stop you!
Unfortunately, our souls are at odds, brother. I need more power.
And we're supposed to be twins.
Twins. Right.
It controls everything. And without strength, you cannot protect anything. Let alone yourself.
And with that, I had finally done it. I completed Devil May Cry 3 on Dante Must Die without using Super Dante. I wanted to give up many times. I raged I don't even know how many times. My hands were physically cramping some days, and I was lost. But I persevered and did it. But of course, that wasn't the end of the journey. There were still a few things left to do. Vergil's playthrough, the S ranks, Heaven or Hell, and Bloody Palace, so scratch that, there were several things to do. I'll spare you the Vergil playthrough because that was just mad easy, I'm not even gonna lie. And honestly, even the S ranks weren't bad. I mean, I did do them on normal, but still, I really thought it would be harder. I hyped it up and everything at the beginning. The Heaven or Hell playthrough was just King Von Simulator. You and the enemies die in one hit, so I just shot everything. Pretty fun, actually. Bloody Palace was going to be a different story, though. Probably. Bloody Hell was the final trophy I needed to finish all of the trophies and obtain that sweet, sweet platinum bling. But what even is Bloody Palace? I didn't really explain that. Bloody Palace is a 9,999 floor gauntlet that spawns in several different waves of enemies on any given floor, and of course the higher you go, the harder it becomes. It begins on about normal difficulty, but by the end the enemies start getting devil trigger and all that as if it's Dante Must Die. After clearing a floor, you can choose to go up 1 floor, 10 floors, or 100 floors. Of course 100 floors is the fastest way, but the 1 floor option gives you extra health. The 10 floor option gives you devil trigger gauge. The 100 floor option? Nothing. On top of that, every 10 floors you clear, regardless of the option you choose, you have to fight a random boss fight. This can be any boss in the game, so you could get something easy like Lady, or you could get Geryon. The whole mode is equal parts luck as it is skill, so I was going to have my work cut out for me. Up to this point, I've been using the alternate costumes for Dante, like the shirtless or the DMC1 costumes, but for the final challenge, I thought it would be fitting to go back to the old reliable, so I suited up and prepared myself for what was to come. But I'm not gonna lie guys, this was kind of easy. I mean, I got close to dying a couple times, but after doing Dante Must Die, this felt like a nice stroll through the park. I really thought this would be harder, so that's why I was saving it for last. It's a long endurance thing that's supposed to be very difficult. But, no, it really wasn't. None of the bosses did that much damage, the waves of enemies went down like flies. It was more of an endurance test than anything, because it took forever. But yeah, that was about it. I know this is a bit of an anticlimactic ending, but I will say this, and let's frame this positively. The fact that Bloody Palace was that easy means I definitely achieved my ultimate goal. There was no way in hell back in the day I would have ever been able to do this. But now it's easy. And yeah, I can say I'm a pretty good DMC3 player now. That was the whole point of the video. There were many ups and downs, but this is one of my proudest accomplishments in gaming because I've been watching people like Waifu speedrun the game. I've watched task videos, people using Royal Guard, Dongori combo videos. I've always wanted to get good at this game because I was always loving it. I loved this game, but I was so bad at it, and it was honestly really demotivating or like disheartening. But yeah, like it really shows that no matter what you're doing, whether it's a game or like a video or whatever you want to do, man, if you put the time in, you stay dedicated, you really can just get good at whatever you want to do. Like this is why I love video games, bro. I love it. Now, I'm not going to make this super drawn out or emotional, because realistically, I could get even better. If I wanted to get better now, like I might have to if I get 10,000 views on this video and get SS rank on every mission. I forgot about that. Holy shit. Anyways, yeah, I could get way better, but the point is, you can celebrate your accomplishments that you get. You can just celebrate the W's as they come, man. It's important to celebrate the accomplishments that you have. Like I said though, I don't want to yap on too long, so I'll just cut that there. I know this isn't like my other videos. I usually do Atlas or Persona videos, but I do want to branch out and do other videos, because making videos for one game series, it gets tiring, man. So if y'all want to see something new like this, definitely drop a like and a sub. I have a lot of ideas for different games, and like I said, I might be having to do a Dante Must Die playthrough again here soon. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and a sub. It would help the channel out a lot, and I'll give you a free cookie as I always do. It's just tradition at this point. Here you go, homie. You truly deserve it if you made it all the way to the end here. You're a goat. Most people clicked off way back then. That's all I gotta say though. It's been your boy Yonder Gogeta, and this has been a crazy ride, eh? Okay, that was kind of cringe. I can't do it like Dante, but whatever. I'll stop now. Bye bye. Hugs and kisses. Mwah.